Hello, this is Jim's review of the 2013 RX350 and RX450H, the hybrid version of our RX. This is the fourth generation in the evolution of the RX, and there's been some tremendous changes this year. Once again, Lexus is raising the bar on this beautiful model. We're going to get a close-up comparison to the two vehicles to find out why this vehicle is so popular in this class. So let's get started on the 2013 RX350 and get a close-up at all the features of this vehicle. We'll notice, starting from the front where they made their biggest change to this year's model, the spindle grille, carrying throughout the entire lineup right now with our all-new daytime running LED lights on both versions of this vehicle. This is our bi-xenon headlight you see here, and the signal light with the little louvers built in just to allow the signal to bleed right through the entire lens. The new cutouts you see in the bumper give it a much sharper look, and the sleek new grille that you see in the front that blends into that new spindle look. You'll also notice in the front area of the windshield, the lower part, this is where our blades tend to stick in the winter with ice and snow. But Lexus has created a heated windshield for this lower portion, and that's a standard feature on the 2013 RX350. Now, the first thing we're going to notice as we open the RX350 hood, we got this initial seal here. This seal here gives it a nice tight fit when the hood's closed, preventing wind drag, giving us better fuel efficiency and also keeping dirt and debris out of the engine compartment area, as does this secondary strip here. Strips all along the engine in the back and the sides. Other mentions underneath the hood would include the easy access to our battery terminals, our engine coolant, and everything's really protected, again, to keep the dirt and debris away, thus giving the engine a much longer life with a lot less wear and tear. Easy access to our washer fluid. Now, some of the most incredible safety features, of course, are built into the front of our vehicle, because this is where we have all our crumple zones in the event of a severe front impact collision, allowing our engine to drop underneath the passenger compartment, our steering column to break apart, our fire blanket to quickly drop over the engine and prevent oxygen from feeding the fire. The 2013 RX350 comes equipped with our 3.5 liter V6. It produces 270 horsepower and 248 foot-pounds of torque. It gives us incredible fuel economy. Our combined average liters per 100 kilometers is 10.2 liters per 100 kilometers on the 2013 RX350. And not only that, it uses regular fuel. That is something that's really going to resonate with consumers given the gas prices that we have in our current market. Now, as we make our way around the side of the 2013 RX350, you notice right away they've changed the wheel on the vehicle to a multi-spoke polished 19-inch wheel. The RX350 in 2013 features a torque-activated all-wheel drive system. Now, it is an on-demand system, which means the benefit to that is that when you're driving on a completely dry road surface, it will shift all the power to the front wheels in order to save fuel. And when it's needed, the on-demand system kicks in the rear wheels to assist. The Smart Key system on the 2013 has added the feature of the auto folding mirrors when it locks. So when the auto feature is engaged and we lock our car, we press our finger once on the door handle right here, you hear that single beep which locks the vehicle, and you also notice your mirrors which fold in. As we approach our vehicle within a meter with a key in our pocket, we simply pull the handle. It allows us to unlock the vehicle. You hear that double beep, the lights blink twice. And it's got the feature which also prevents you from locking your key in the car. So I've just inserted the key into the vehicle. I'm going to try to lock it, and it's going to give us that long alert telling us that we've left our key in the car. Now, in the event we run out of battery on this key, which could take a few years, but in the event you do, there's a little button you press on the top of the key, which immediately releases a real key. And of course, we have our keyhole on the door, which we can then use this key to enter the vehicle by simply turning the door lock and opening the vehicle. Once you get inside the vehicle, there's emergency power that's built into the key. You would simply get in the car, hold your foot on the brake pedal while holding this key right up against the ignition for 2 seconds. You'll see the little green light light up on the start button, and then you hit the start button and it starts. The vehicle features 4-wheel power-assisted discs with 4-sensor, 4-channel anti-lock braking system. It also has brake force distribution, which allows the braking system to evenly distribute the power where needed. And it's got brake assist, so in emergencies when you got to push the brake pedal really hard, it'll actually help push it even further down to help the vehicle stop faster. Starting with the brake lights in the rear, we have our LED brake light system, which allows drivers to see you from much further away when you're braking, especially in inclement weather, which really helps. We got our clean look in the back of the RX350. Traditionally, we have wipers that sit at the bottom of the windshield in the back, but with the RX350, notice how it comes out from the rear spoiler, where it's protected from inclement weather, and it doesn't have the task of trying to lift the heavy weight of the snow rather than just push it away. Other notables in the rear, starting with the rear bumper protector, designed to allow you to slide things in and out of the vehicle without having to worry about scratching your back bumper. And it gives us easy access here with the power rear door. With the simple push of a button on our key, we can spring open this back door, ideal for when we have shopping in our hands. And there's a button on the rear door which allows us to close it again. Should there be something trapped in the way of the door, it feels a little bit of tension and it'll back off. No harm done. Lexus attention to detail carries right into the rear of the vehicle here. These areas, these channels you see here on the side of the rear gate on either side is generally speaking where most SUVs tend to gather dirt and debris, dry leaves, and then that turns into corrosion over time, but Lexus, as you can see, has protected all that area. As we get into the rear cargo area here, we get about 40 cubic feet of space. With the seats folded down, that doubles to 80. Not only that, but in the rear here, you'll notice handles that allow us to release the rear seats without having to walk all the way around the vehicle to do it. Our tonneau cover, which is generally used to cover our shopping or give us privacy, can release quite easily with the push of a button on either side. And it's quite simple, as you can see. There's 3 lights that light up the rear cargo area in the back here. The lights come on when the gate opens, and when the gate closes, the lights will shut off automatically, making it very user-friendly. And our rear backup camera, which is conveniently located underneath the license plate area and will require cleaning from time to time. As soon as we put the vehicle into reverse, it immediately and automatically activates our backup camera, and if we have the optional park sensors, okay, they automatically come on as well and tell us exactly how close we're getting. And we look for that little red indicator in the top right hand corner just behind the animated vehicle telling us it's time to stop, which still leaves us about 11 inches behind the car. Other notable mentions in the cargo area, of course, we have behind each of the seats anchors for the tether straps, children's seats. We also have tie-down hooks, so when you're traveling you can actually tie down your luggage in the back so it doesn't shift around. And we have a 12-volt that you can plug in a charger in the back here if you're camping. Now in the back seat area here, one of the nicest features about the seat is it operates very similar to the front seat but manually. You can actually slide the seat forward and back. And for a long trip or with a child sitting in the back, you can recline it for more comfort. Now with the 40-20-40 split design, it also allows us to fold down the middle 20 piece and still have 4 adults sitting comfortably in this vehicle and allowing us to have long objects running down the center. And of course in the rear, especially when you have a 5th passenger sitting in the middle, you don't want that hump in the center. And of course the RX350 designers have created a completely flat back here, even for the center passenger. Now when we have an adult sitting in the back, seat belt, of course, our 3-point belt, goes right over our shoulder quite comfortably. When you have a child in the back, it sits a little bit too high. Well, you have this clever seat belt comfort guide, which is quite easy to insert into your seat belt. And then when you have a child sitting in the back, it slides out much lower as the seat belt clicks in. So it doesn't come right across the top. It sits more comfortably on a child's neck. Now, first thing you'll notice when you open the door of the RX350 for the driver's door here, you have a double seal at the top here. One of the things Lexus pays particular attention to is to keep the interior cabin as quiet as possible. This is one of the traits of Lexus. And you'll see how the seal carries all the way down to the bottom, but even more important, you have a seal that covers right at the bottom of the door here This is very clever because it prevents salt stains in the winter from getting along the side of the vehicle, which is typically where we get it all over our pant legs as we get in our vehicle. As we get into the cabin here, we start from the edge and work our way in. We have our third cup holder. In addition to the two big ones in the center, we have a third one on the side here, which is quite handy. Underneath, we have our headlamp washers, our trunk opener, which we can open and close the trunk with in the front, and our fuel release button. Over here on the side, we have our dimmer for the dash here for the center console area where you can dim it or make it more bright. And our trip and odometer setting where we have two trip meters, trip A and trip B. Our headlights are automatic, as are the high beams on most of the models, where you can just flick the switch forward and the auto high beam feature is engaged. That will also turn on and off our fog lights with our headlights as well. One of the other nice changes they made for the 2013 RX350 is this all-new steering wheel. It features a much more comfortable design, and it's also more ergonomic. A lot of the buttons have been repositioned and easier to read and are labeled a little better as well. Now on the left side of the steering wheel we have our volume control. Underneath that we have our mode button, which allows us to switch from AM, FM, satellite mode, Bluetooth audio, CD. We have our presets here where we can scroll through our stations that we've preset. On the right side of the steering wheel we have our up-down arrows, which change what's being displayed on our display screen in the center of the cluster. Underneath we have our second page of information. First page will show you things like your fuel consumption average, you got your cruising range with your outside temperature, average speed, and your second page will allow you to turn on and off your electronically controlled transmission, the snow mode feature, which allows you to get better traction in very bad winter driving. Off to the right here we have our phone pickup and hang up buttons, and our voice command, which allows us to talk to the vehicle and give it voice commands. Now the touring package we've been looking at here features a 12-speaker audio system. It's a Lexus premium audio system with a subwoofer in the rear, but if we decide to switch to the ultra premium package, that brings us up to a 15-speaker sound system, 7.1 surround sound architecture by Mark Levinson, one of the finest sound systems in a factory vehicle anywhere in the world. Now notice the cluster here, the way they've lit it up. The engineers at Lexus were thinking of keeping it easy on the driver's eyes, and you could see how subtle and nice and easy it is for the driver to look at. Notice the convenience of having the opening here between the two front seats, which allows us to store a purse, a Kleenex box, maybe a few bottles of water, and we also have a 12-volt adapter in here. Now underneath the armrest here we have a sliding little console where we can store our keys or a wallet. And then of course we have our USB and auxiliary where we can have our inputs there, and another 12-volt adapter where we can charge our cell phone. Our track off switch is something you may want to use if you're ever stuck and you need your wheels to spin more freely. And just to the right of that we have our center differential lock, which we can actually lock up, splitting the power to the front and rear perfectly, allowing us to get out of, say, deep mud, or if we're towing a boat out of the water. Our heated and ventilated seats allow us to heat our seats in 3 stages for both front seats, or ventilate them, which simply takes the cool air from the air conditioning and ventilates it through the seat and pushes it out of the holes in the leather. Again, the attention to detail. Lexus engineers, instead of putting a speaker in the corner of the A-pillar, they created an opening and put glass. That creates a brand new field of vision, so you can see behind those big mirrors and those big A-pillars that have the airbags built into them now. All the ultra premium packages for the RX350 in 2013 feature this new heated steering wheel feature. Now of course for the touring package, which we're currently sitting in, we have the navigation available in this model along with the remote touch in the center, our little mouse, but it's not a standard feature, it's optional. With this package they've updated the software and made it much easier to use, so that you don't have to use the enter buttons on the side anymore, but rather just push right down on the mouse head. In the center here we have our climate control, which is automatic. We can turn our fan up or down manually, of course. We have our front defrost button here, our rear defrost, and our side mirrors, which it does it together. You turn that on. The mode allows us to basically switch where we want the airflow to come from, unless it's in the auto setting. And then we have our recirculate, our auto recirculate or fresh, or just fresh. When it's in the auto feature, it'll select when it should be in recirculate or fresh based on the smog sensors and how much smog they detect outside the vehicle. It'll also switch to recirculate when you have your temperature set to be really cool inside for the climate control. It's dual climate, so there's a passenger side temperature that allows us to warm it up or cool it for the passenger, and of course the driver control is on the driver's side. Once the driver is alone in the vehicle, they can turn off that dual control by simply going into the climate screen on our navigation screen here if you have the navigation, which is optional, or if you didn't have it, there'd be a dual light right on the dash here which you could turn off. So in this case, we're going to turn off the dual in the center screen, and everything is controlled on the driver's side again now. There's also a couple of shortcut buttons here. Rather than going into the menu and then into the audio screen, we could simply push radio, and it takes us straight into the audio screen where we'll have our AM, FM, and satellite stations that we can select from. Just to the right of that, we have the media button. That takes us into a shortcut for the Bluetooth audio, or USB, auxiliary, or disc. Most of the models feature a single disc this year in the 2013, as people are turning more towards things like USB, MP3, and Bluetooth audio, having music loaded on their phones. Notice how the screen is designed and sunk in quite deep to prevent sun glare. Now we're going to enter our menu, which has changed for the 2013 RX350. You'll notice that the animation is just a lot easier to identify as you go through the various screens. We'll start with the destination screen, where we can enter into the destination screen and input addresses, points of interest, previous destinations. We can create an address book, find places that are closest to us, like hospitals, dealerships, police stations, and fire stations. The little back button, whenever you see it on the top right hand side of the screen, allows us to go back to the previous screen. At the bottom of this destination screen, you'll also see a spot where you can input your home. That's why you have the Go Home feature. And then another 5 presets: your work, your cottage, your friend's home. And you can input all these things at the bottom here so that you can access and enter those destinations while you're driving. The More button on the far right takes us into a second screen, which allows us to also input destinations using an intersection or a freeway number, if you know it, by map or by coordinates. Now the back button at the top right takes us back to the previous screen, as we said before. The next button in the menu is the Info button. Info will take you into a fuel consumption screen where you can track your fuel consumption. It monitors it by the minute, okay, and it even shows past records. You can clear it if you want and start fresh. Back to the previous screen, our traffic incidents. When you have the XM radio feature in the vehicle, it also allows you to have this feature which will list traffic incidents from closest to furthest away or on the current path that you've inputted as a destination. Back to the previous screen, and again. Now we're into our setup screen. This is where it allows the vehicle owner to do a lot of customization, starting with the general setup, where you can change the language, the unit of measurement, the color of the buttons on the navigation display, the keyboard layout. You can customize your startup image and load up a picture if you want of your family. As the vehicle starts, it'll display that image. Auto screen change, which allows the map to always go back every 20 seconds. So if you're in a different screen, you'll see it always revert back to the map. Our selection sound, our pointer sound, our error sound. If we press our little mouse in the wrong area, you'll get a little error sound. You can adjust the pointer sound volume. Force feedback is for the mouse. When you scroll over each and every one of these little boxes that's highlighted, you get a little bit of resistance, and you can adjust that in the feedback force. Deleting your personal data is very important, of course. Once we sell our vehicle, we want to be able to delete all our personal data and update our software if necessary. Adjusting our clock or language, okay, back to the beginning. Our back button takes us to the previous screen again, where we can adjust the voice of the person on the navigation system. We can do customized navigation settings. customized vehicle settings for our locks and our lighting in the vehicle, and of course our phone, where we can input various different phones to the vehicle. Our Bluetooth setup, where we can register devices or our players. If we have a player that we want to connect to for our Bluetooth audio, it can also be connected through here. Detailed Bluetooth settings allows us to go and customize things like the name of the unit that we have here. It's typically automatically defaulted as car multimedia, but we can change that. Back again, our audio settings, where we can have our HD radio settings, okay, HD only or HD analog or all. Back to the menu screen. Now, we had a glimpse at our radio screen earlier. Now, on the far left side of the radio screen, you have all your presets, and they don't necessarily have to be done individually for each page by band. You can mix different bands like AM, FM, and satellite for each page. It's the box in the center, or on the far right actually, that you see what's actually playing. So if I select the station, it'll immediately show that in the box. If I select from the tab up top where it says satellite, I can select the satellite station and program it as channel 1 if I want now by holding down on my mouse. I've just selected 80s music. I can now go to FM, select the station that I like on FM by turning my tune knob on the right hand side up here. And then I go to channel 2 and I program my FM station by holding the mouse pressed right over channel 2. Now I'm going to go to AM and program an AM station that I like by doing the same thing. I'm scrolling down to number 3 as a preset, holding it pressed, okay, and it programs that as well. So you can see now I have a satellite station as channel 1, an FM station as channel 2, and an AM station as channel 3. And I can continue to do that through each of the 6 pages. Now we're going to enter the media screen, and at the top, of course, you can see the only one highlighted currently is the Bluetooth audio, but of course there's USB, auxiliary, and disc there. And whichever one's highlighted, of course, would be the one playing. We can adjust the sound on the bottom right of the screen, and it's not necessarily the same for each one. We can set different settings for each of our bands. So if we're in Bluetooth audio and we want to do a certain adjustment on Bluetooth audio, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same. As I scroll back with the left and right arrows at the top, that can take me back to my AM, FM, and satellite. Once I'm in satellite mode, I can then go to the sound feature at the bottom right of the screen and make my own adjustments for satellite now. And just press OK. The climate screen, you can see, is quite animated this year. It's a very user-friendly setup they've got here. You don't really need to go into the screen too often because you control everything with your auto control features right on the center of the dash here. But once you go in here, it'll allow you to get a snapshot of what the system is doing, where the airflow is blowing from, and this is where you have your feature to turn on your front heater defroster at the bottom of the windshield. One of the other nice things about the RX350 is the 10 standard airbags. That's a class-leading number, and it provides comfort even in the front, knowing that you have knee airbags to protect our knees in a severe front impact collision. So just to summarize, the 2013 RX350, they've given it a sharper look, they've given it better comfort and a nicer interior, they've given it better software, made it more efficient, and they've lowered the price. So once again, Lexus has left everybody wondering how they keep this vehicle at the top of its class. Well, this is exactly how they do it. And we'll be able to take a closer look now at the RX450h in my following segment and take another close look at what makes that the most amazing luxury hybrid in the world for the SUV market.